class to Russia. Usually every Tuesday morning I go to class to Russia. Time difference. You can sing Vidva Varishesha. You know the song?
No.
No. You got the sample?
Yes.
You know,
Можно найти в интернете.
there are morning songs as well as so the morning song, Vidva Varishesha is one. Bhakti Vighna Vinasa.
Well, page.
Vidva Varishesha Aloka Pravesha Nidrachari Uta Jiva
Vivavari Shesha Aloka Pravesha Nidrachadi Udhajiva
Vivavari Shesha Aloka Pravesha Nidrachari Uta Jiva
Vivavari Shesha Aloka Pravesha Nidrachadi Udhajiva
Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva
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 Narasimha Vamana Srimadhusudana Rajendra Nandana Shama
Narasimha Vamana Srimadhusudana Rajendra Nandana Shama
Bhutana Gatana Kaita Bashatana Jaya Dasarathi Rama
Bhutana Gatana Kaita Bashatana Jaya Dasarathi Rama
Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandhara
Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandhara
Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Bhora
Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Bhora
Ravana Thakura Makana Taskara Gopi Jana Vastrahari
Ravana Sakara Makana Vastrahari Gopi Jana Vastrahari
Grajera Rakala Gopa Vrindapala Chitahari Vamsita Hari
Rajera Rakala Gopi Vrindapala Chitahari Vamsita Hari
Yogendra Vandana Sri Nandana Praja Jana Payahari
Yoginda Vandana Vinanda Rajajana Payahari
Navinane Raja Rupa Manohara Mohana Bhamsi Vihari
Navinani Radha Rupa Manohara Mahanabhamsi Vihari
Yashodanandana Kamsa Nishudana Nikunjarasa Vilasi
Yashodanandana Kampani Sudana Nikundara Savilasi
Adam Bhattanana Rasa Parayana Vrindavitina Nivasi
Adambakarana Rasaparayana Vrindavitina Nivasi
Anandavardhana Premani Ketana Pulasharayo Jakatana
Anandavardhana Premani Ketana Suvasharaya
Gopangana Gana Chitta Vinodana Samasta Guna Gana Dhamma Yamuna Jivana Kili Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora Yamuna Jivana Kili Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora Namashuraras Ko Krishnayash Rako Vachanamana Mora Namashuraras Ko Krishnayash Rako Vachanamana Mora Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
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 Gopi Janaballabha Giripardhari
Gopi Janaballabha Giripardhari
Gopi Janaballabha Giripardhari
Gopi Janaballabha Giripardhari
Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo 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 Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Narayanam Namaskrityam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Sarasatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudhirhayat
Tato Jayamudhirayat.
Nasta Praeshu Vabhadreshu
Staprayeshu Avandreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki.
We're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, chapter number 31, text number 13. Shreyasam api sarvesham
Shreyasamapi sarvesham.
atma yavatir artata
Atmahyavadir arthata.
sarvesham api bhutanam
Sarveshamapi bhutanam.
harir atmatmada priya
Hari atmatmada priya.
Shreyasam api sarvesham
Shreyasamapi sarvesham.
atma yavadir artata
Atmahyavadir arthata.
sarvesham api bhutanam
Sarveshamapi bhutanam.
harir atmatmada priya
Hari atmatmada priya.
Shreyasam api sarvesham
Shreyasamapi sarvesham.
atma yavadir artata
Atmahyavadir arthata.
sarvesham api bhutanam
Sarveshamapi bhutanam.
harir atmada priya.
Hari atmatmada priya. Shreyasam api sarvesham.
Shreyasamapi sarvesham.
Atmahyavadir arthata.
Atmahyavadir arthata.
Sarvesham api bhutanam.
Sarveshamapi bhutanam.
Harir atmatmada priya.
Hariratmatmada priya. Shreyasamapi sarvesham.
Shreyasam api sarvesham.
Atmahyavadhir arthata.
Atmahyavadir arthata.
Sarveshamapi bhutanam.
Sarvesham api bhutanam.
Harir atma mada priya.
Harir atmatmada priya.
Madhujis.
Shreyasam api sarvesham.
Shreyasamapi sarvesham.
Atmahi avadir artataha.
Atmahyavadhir arthata.
Sarvesham api bhutanam.
Sarveshamapi bhutanam.
Harir atmatmada priya.
Hariratmatmada priya.
Shreyasamapi sarvesham.
Shreyasamapi sarvesham.
Atmayavadir artata.
Atmahyavadhir arthata.
Sarveshamapi bhutanam.
Sarveshamapi
Shreyasam
Shreyasam
of auspicious activities.
of auspicious activities.
Api
Adi
certainly.
certainly.
Sarvesham
Sarvesham
all.
all.
Atma
Atma
the self.
the self,
He
he
certainly.
certainly,
Avadi
avati
destination.
destination.
Artata
Artata
factually.
factually.
Sarvesham
Sarvesham
of all.
of all,
Api
adi
certainly.
certainly,
Bud anam
bhutanam
living entities.
living entities.
Harehe
Hari
Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Atma
Atma
the Super Soul.
the Super Soul.
Atmada
Atmada
who can give us our original identity.
who can give us our original identity.
Priya
Priya
very dear.
very dear.
Translation. Factually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original source of all self-realization. Consequently, the goal of all auspicious activities, karma, jnana, yoga, and bhakti, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can repeat. Factually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead
Factually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead
is the original source
is the original source
of all self-realization.
of all self-realization.
Consequently,
Consequently,
the goal of all auspicious activities,
the goal of all auspicious activities,
karma, jnana, yoga, and bhakti,
karma, jnana, yoga, and bhakti,
is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The living entity is marginal energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the material world is the external energy. Under the circumstances, one must understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is factually the original source of both matter and spirit. This is explained in 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You can chant, you know the verse? Bhamerapo nalo vayu kammano budere vacha ahankarai yamme bina prakritir ashtada apariyam tastvanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yedam daryate jagat. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 comprise my separated material energy. But besides this inferior nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mine, which consists of all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. The entire cosmic manifestation is but a combination of matter and spirit. The spiritual part is the living entity, and these living entities are described as prakriti, or energy. The living entity is never described as Purusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, to identify the living entity with the Supreme Lord is simply ignorance. The living entity is the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord, although there is factually no difference between the energy and the energetic. The duty of the living entity is to understand his real identity. When he does, Krishna gives him all the facilities to come to the platform of devotional service. This is the perfection of life. This is described in the Vedic Upanishad. Yam ivaishasi vrinute tena labhyas tashyaisa atma vivrinute tanam swam. Lord Krishna confirms this in Bhagavad Gita. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. The conclusion is that one must come to the platform of Bhakti Yoga, even though one may begin with Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga or Astanga Yoga. Unless one comes to the platform of Bhakti Yoga, self-realization or realization of the absolute truth cannot be achieved. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitandena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Narada Muni is instructing the Prachetas. How many Prachetas? How many Prachetas are there? You know?
10,000.
No, not 10. 10. Only 10. The Prachetas, the sons of Prachini Barishat. 10 Prachetas. And they all went off to do austerities. And they got instruction from Lord Shiva and from Lord Vishnu. They're very fortunate. They became self-realized. But still, they had some problems. Anyway, they approached. What happened was, they were doing meditation. Narada Muni came to them. And they were very happy to have Narada Muni come to them. They knew Narada Muni to be a great soul. What's wrong?
We organize some translation to Russian.
Oh, you want translation? Russian?
To Russian, yeah.
Really? I was just giving class to Russia this morning. They were saying, could we join the class at Zurich? Because they said if we, they're Russian, they wanted to join the class. But they thought you were going to translate to French or something, or German. How many speak Russian here? Just the two.
We also, but we
4.
also understand.
Now 4.
Really? Good. Okay, so you can do it sentence by sentence, I don't mind.
Может, микрофон тогда? Вы умеете? Я тоже не умею. Просто, чтобы не забыть переводить. Он сами там, да. He just translate here.
Okay,
For few.
as you like. I'll go slow.
Sentence by sentence, yeah? Sentence by sentence.
If you like, yeah.
No? Okay.
Если сможете, да.
Yeah, I can sentence by sentence.
Okay. Alright, so Narada Muni has come to instruct the Prachetas. the Prachetas said, we're very attached. We're very attached to the material world. So please help us. Although we've had instruction from Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, we'll be happy to also have instruction from Narada Muni. So Narada Muni is explaining to the Prachetas that the Lord is the real purpose of all self-realization. So Srila Prabhupada points out that both the material and spiritual world have their origin from the Supreme Lord. There are two natures. There's the material nature and the spiritual nature. But they both come from the Supreme Personality of God. Common people, they only think of the material world. They never think that there's a spiritual world. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport was quoting from the Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, the elements of the material nature, 8 elements of the material nature. And that the material nature is described as the separated energy of the Lord. Bina prakritir ashtada, it's separated from him. Prabhupada gives the example, he said, just like milk is the separated energy of the cow. Or Prabhupada was saying, just like my voice is being recorded. So he said the recording of the voice is the separated energy. Similar in material world, men and women may be separated from each other. They may be married, but they may be separated. The relationship is not so intimate. So this material energy is Krishna's separated energy. It's not so, the Lord doesn't have so much, he doesn't reside here eternally. And then he goes on, Lord Krishna is describing he's describing about his prakriti, his energy. And he mentions there's another energy, beside this energy of the elements, this matter, material, there's another energy which are the living entities. So we are the living entities, all living entities, Tulsi Maharani and the trees, so many trees that are around here, they're all living entities. And we're all prakriti of the Lord. But we are superior prakriti. This is inferior prakriti, no consciousness, right? There's no consciousness in the floor. There's no consciousness in the microphone. But the living entities, even the trees, the animals, the plants, they're all conscious. They have consciousness. So they're superior prakriti. but still we're struggling with the material nature. Why are we struggling? That is explained in another verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Mamevam sa jiva loke, jiva buddha sanatana, manashastani indriyani, prakriti stani karshati. That we're trying to exploit the energy. We're thinking it's for our enjoyment. We should understand it's all Krishna's energy and it's all meant for his enjoyment. But because we have consciousness, we are thinking it's just for our enjoyment. We want to enjoy independently of him. So self-realization is to understand, first of all, our own self, as that we're not the body, that we are the superior Prakriti, but we have a relationship with the energetic, the source of the energy. We are energy. Where does the energy come from? There has to be a source. Everything comes from somewhere. So we are the energy, the Supreme Lord, He is the energetic, and He is the origin of all energies. So the purpose of self-realization is to come to understand the Supreme Lord and how we are meant to be engaged in His loving service. So there are different processes by which people can become self-realized. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, Astanga yoga, bhakti yoga, kundalini yoga, so many different yogas. But the goal of all of these things is to come to understand the energetic, that there's a personality of Godhead. So in the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is explaining the yoga ladder, the connection between these different yogas. And we see in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains even karma kanda. Karma kanda is a material activities which are done simply for material benefit. Karma kanda is not even on the yoga ladder. It's just a material process so that we can enjoy the material world. And generally most, like Hindu temples or even most places of religion, they're simply thinking like that. They think religion is meant for material benefit. That I'll worship God, I'll pray to God, and He will solve all my problems. And people don't think there's any higher purpose. They think God is just someone we go to when we have problems and He will help us. But self-realization is to help us to understand, first of all, that we're not the body, and then go on to know our relationship with the Supreme Lord. In the material world, the Kali Yuga, there's so much atheism in the world today. People don't believe in God. Of course, in communist countries, they indoctrinate everyone into that thinking. If you go to China, in China, everyone who goes to higher ed, who goes to college and school, even schools and colleges, the main subject is the teachings of Karl Marx. Karl Marx, he said, religion is the opium of the people. So even in Western countries, you've got a lot of atheism. You've got people, even people who are supposed to be educated, they're very atheistic. They think they think it's just for sentimental people to believe in God. They don't see any science in it. But what they call science is the most ridiculous things. They have the most foolish theories. Anyway, the Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for those people who have a little bit intelligence, want to understand more about the nature of the world. So the Prachetas, they were inquiring from Narada, they wanted to hear from Narada Muni, because they saw Narada Muni to be a very enlightened personality. So they were happy to hear from him. And he's telling them that the whole goal of our meditation and our austerities and our practice, that it must bring us to consciousness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, it is simply useless. Srimad Bhagavatam says, duties executed by all men are only so much useless labor if they don't give any attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. And so it doesn't matter how many books you read, how much knowledge you have, doesn't matter how much austerities you may perform, how much charity you may give, how much sacrifices you may perform. But if you don't develop any devotion for the Supreme Lord, it is a waste of time. So all self-realization processes are meant to lead to bhakti. Until they come to bhakti, their self-realization is not complete. Karma yogi, he wants to enjoy the material world. He wants to enjoy the results of some activity. And once he gets the results, he will give up. He will stop. He won't do any more. I've got what I wanted. Someone else, a Jnana yogi, he wants to get liberation. Once he gets his mukti, then he's not going to practice anymore. You can go to some Mayavadi ashram in India and you'll see they worship deities of Radha and Krishna. They chant Hare Krishna mantra and they read Bhagavad Gita and so on. But their goal is simply mukti. And they think once I get mukti, then stop everything. Just like Mayavadis in the impersonal school. When they take sannyas, then they cut off their shika and they take off their Brahmin thread. Because they think now they're liberated, now they've become God. They've become one with Narayan. And just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. There was no Sika, there was no Brahman thread. He took sannyas in the line of Shankaracharya. So they take off their Sika and the Brahman thread. And when you meet them, you're supposed to say, Namo Narayan. I offer my obeisances to you who's one with Narayan. The Astanga yogi, their goal is samadhi, and that samadhi is just trance, just simply nothing, do nothing, just simply be in the trance. But one who does bhakti, they will do sadhana, and they will continue that sadhana even after going to the spiritual world. Here, we're chanting Hare Krishna, we're worshipping Krishna, we're hearing the scripture. In the spiritual world, we'll continue with these activities. We won't worship deities in the spiritual world. Krishna's actually there. You can dress Krishna, you can play with Krishna, you can cook for Krishna. Krishna's there, and not just, of course, he's here in the deity, he's here as the deity, but he's personally there in the spiritual world. So here, we're preparing ourselves to go there, to be with Krishna. We want to practice worshipping Krishna, dressing Krishna nicely, offering articles to him for his pleasure. All of these activities, we continue to do them. We don't stop. We don't think, oh, I've read the Bhagavatam, I've read it, I'm not going to read it again. We read it again and again. We keep reading it more and more. We don't think, oh, I've chanted Hare Krishna, now I'm finished. We never finish. We can never chant enough. We can never hear enough. We can never chant enough. We can never do enough service for Krishna. So, Krishna consciousness is Sanatan Dharma, the eternal occupation of the soul, eternally serving Krishna. Right? The constitutional position of the living entity is described, Jiver Swarupahaya Nitya Krishna Das. That our constitutional position is to be the servant of Krishna. And that is constitution. They don't change the constitution. They keep that, and they base everything based on that constitution. So our constitutional position is to be the servant. Krishna is the master, we are all servants. We never become the master. Material world people are all thinking how to become the master, how to become the controller. But devotees, eternally the servant. And there is more pleasure in being the servant than in being the master. And that is why Krishna himself comes in the mood of a devotee, to experience that pleasure. So it is Bhakti Yoga, which is the culmination of all the yoga practices. At the end of the 6th chapter, Lord Krishna said, Yoginam api sarvisham, Yoginam api sarvisham, madgatenan taratmanam, Shraddhavam bhajate yomam, same yuktatamomata. Of all yogis, the highest yogi is the one who is always engaged in thinking of me and engaged in my transcendental loving service. Such yogi, he is the best of all. So Bhakti Yoga is at the top of the yoga ladder, and we're trying to come to that platform. One who does bhakti, he is also a karma yogi, he's also a jnana yogi, he's also an astanga yogi. It's all included within bhakti. Karma yogi is detached from the result. So a devotee is also detached from the result. We give all the results to Krishna. We're working for Krishna. So a devotee is also karma yogi. Karma yogi does their duty, means to perform your duty in a detached manner. So we also perform our duty as devotees. Whatever different duties we have, we try to perform them for the pleasure of Krishna. A devotee is also a jnana yogi, because a devotee also knows about Lord Krishna and his different forms and his different energies. We know how Krishna creates the world, and we know how Krishna reciprocates with his devotees. And a devotee is also an Astanga yogi. Astanga yogis meditate they're absorbed, right? If you do Astanga yoga, that yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, and then the meditation begins. After the pranayam comes, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, all different levels of meditation. So devotee, in Bhakti Yoga, we're always meditating, remembering Krishna. Smartavyam satatam Vishnu, Vishmartavya na jatukrit. Sarve vidi nisedasha etayor eva kinkara. The regulative principle, the primary regulative principle above all principles is always remember Vishnu, never forget him. So in this way we understand the Bhakti Yogi is also a Karma Yogi, a Jnana Yogi, Anastanga Yogi. It's all there within Bhakti. So you're not losing anything if you come to Bhakti. It's all there within the devotional process. And more, the perfection, the goal of all the yoga is there in Bhakti. So Narada Muni is encouraging the prachetas that they should also be devotees. They were congratulated, you know, they all went together to do their austerities, and they all cooperated with each other. And so the Lord told them, he said, I'm very pleased with you that you've all cooperated so nicely with each other. So that is the main feature, the main difficulty in the Kali Yuga. The Kali Yuga is the age of quarrel. It's easy for people to argue and divide, separate themselves. But if they can put aside these differences and work together, cooperate together, then it's much easier to achieve the goal of life. The most important, it's very important to have association. We cannot just simply practice Bhakti Yoga on our own. We need to get association. It's very important for us. It's essential. And that's why the prachetas are so happy to have Narada Muni and to hear from him, and they're inquiring from him. Okay, any questions? Yes?
Maharaj, I have a couple of questions.
Yes?
My first question is, like, who is an authentic yogi? And then interconnected question is, like, how to empower ourselves? And the third one is, the world is very, very complex and very strong. How to defend our innocence and simplicity?
All right. So who's the real yogi?
Yeah, authentic yogi.
Authentic yogi. We have to know what is the meaning of yoga. Yoga means to link with the Supreme. So yoga means to link with the Supreme. So the real yogi, an authentic yogi, he has to connect with the Supreme. He has to, one who is connected to the Supreme, then they will control their mind and senses. So yoga, the primary stage of yoga is to learn to control the mind and senses. So an authentic yogi must have control over his mind and senses. He cannot be engaged in, well, Srila Prabhupada saw when Prabhupada was in New York, in Manhattan, and when he began in 26 seconds, and nearby there was a yoga ashram. Is yoga popular here in Switzerland? Huh? Some people? Yeah. So even in Prabhupada's time there was this yoga. And so they would all go and do their yoga, and they would meditate, and the teacher would say to them, meditate, now you are controlling the moon. Now I am controlling the moon. Now you are controlling the sun. Now I am controlling the sun. And after the yoga they would all go outside and smoke cigarettes and go for a beer and stuff, and so that kind of yoga, that's show bottle yoga, not authentic. Okay? Second question.
Maharaj, second question is how to empower ourselves. Like sometimes the world is very complex and most of the time I don't even understand it. But how to prove ourselves? Being a devotee, we can't attack anyone, we can't discuss anything, but we still have to protect our honor and not the false ego, but how to empower ourselves and defend ourselves.
Well, we empower ourselves by faithfully chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna. The chanting of the Maha Mantra will empower you to perform your duty as a devotee. All devotional activities can empower you for the pleasure of Krishna. The more you try to serve Krishna, the more you will be empowered to do wonderful things on behalf of Krishna. We say, Mukam karoti vachalam, pangam langayate girim. By the mercy of the spiritual master, and by the mercy of Krishna, a lame man can cross mountains. A blind man can see the stars. A dumb man can recite poetry. You become empowered by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And how do you get the mercy of Guru and Krishna? You follow their instructions. You have to follow the instructions, Prabhupada's instructions. Then you become empowered. If you're a faithful follower of Prabhupada's teachings, you'll be empowered. Yes? More questions?
Actually, I do have one more question. How to overcome the obstacles in sadhana?
Yes, the obstacles in sadhana. You overcome the obstacles by devotion, by doing more devotional activities. The obstacles will be removed. The more you do devotional activity, the more you chant, the more you engage in Krishna's service, all the obstacles will be removed. Prabhupada said, with one kick of my foot, I will remove all the obstacles from your path. So take shelter of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada will help you to overcome all the obstacles.
Thank you.
And Lord Brahma also describes that all the obstacles can be overcome by bhakti. Yes, Vendra Gopam, how does it go? there's a verse in the Brahma Samhita which describes that Lord Krishna or Govinda burns up to the root all fruitive activities of those who are imbued with devotion. He removes all the obstacles, he takes them all away by our devotion. So you can get rid of all the obstacles just by taking full shelter of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada will take you to Krishna. You follow the instructions, you do as Prabhupada did, chant Hare Krishna, worship Krishna, and the obstacles will all be removed. Devi Hesha Gunamaye Mama Maya Duratya. Material energy is very difficult to overcome. Duratya, very difficult to overcome the material energy. Mam eva ye prapadyante mayami tam tarantite. If we surrender to Krishna, then it becomes very easy. So surrender. How to surrender? Do you know how to surrender? You have to accept everything favorable for devotion. Means chanting. You have to chant. You have to do service. You have to come and hear regularly. And you have to associate with the devotees. And you have to give up the bad things. What is bad? Intoxication, meat eating, gambling, an illicit connection with the opposite sex. These things, these sinful activities have to be avoided. Then there will be obstacles are created by our sinful activities. You can remove them by devotional activities. But you have to give up all the sinful activities. You have to stay away from all sinful activities. Yes? Any other questions? The Russian devotees have any questions? Yes?
Махарадж, большое спасибо за лекцию.
Thank you very much for the class.
Ну, просто я так думаю, что Господь мир материальный создал совершенным образом.
I think that the Lord created the material world perfect.
И Махамая очень сильна.
Mahamaya is very strong.
И получается, что мы находимся в Махамае, и мы не можем понять Кришну, пока мы не будем воспевать святые имена.
And since we are in Mahamaya, we cannot understand Krishna until we chant the holy names.
Мы или идем по судьбе, которую нам назначит Кришна, или воспеваем имена, и это все у нас озаряется.
We either go by the fate, which is created by Krishna, or we chant.
Ну, без воспевания святых имен мы не сможем понять, ну, ни лекции, ни то, что у нас ограничено.
Since without chanting the holy names, we cannot understand the class even and other things.
Потому что сперва воспевание имен, когда мы очищаемся, и потом уже мы начинаем понимать философию.
First we chant the holy name, and then we can understand the philosophy.
Ну так, да?
Is it like that?
Yes, Prabhupada said chanting, when you chant Hare Krishna, that's the beginning of your Krishna consciousness. But you have to go on. We don't just chant only, you have to also hear. You have to understand why we're chanting. You have to understand the teachings. You have to understand, you have to know something about Krishna. You have to hear about Krishna's activities. So we have to hear, first of all, from the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the primary knowledge. And Srimad Bhagavatam is more like graduate, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is postgraduate. In the scriptures it said, Atashi Krishna Nabhavid Griyam Indriyani. That we cannot understand Krishna by our senses, but he reveals himself when we perform service, and that service is done with the tongue. Use the tongue to chant and to take prasadam. So people need to hear the Maha Mantra, right? We say the ninth offense in chanting Hare Krishna is to instruct the glories of the holy name to the faithless persons. So people, a lot of people, they don't have faith. They don't have any faith. So we don't tell them the philosophy, but we let them hear the mantra. We let them take part in the kirtan. Let them hear the holy name. And by hearing the holy name and taking prasadam, they develop faith. Then they're ready to hear. So, yes?
Can I ask a question? If we go out on the streets to do the Harinam, is it how important is it to have like a high elevated devotee among Harinam group? Is it important, or if there is no such high devotee elevated, should we go anyway outside the streets?
Yes. Yes, we go anyway. Who are these high elevated devotees anyway? Who are these high elevated? Where do you get these high elevated? Prabhupada sent the devotees out on Harinam in the beginning of the movement. Everybody was new devotees, but because they had faith in the holy name, they're chanting the holy name. So they're high elevated devotees. They're going out on Harinam. They are the highly elevated devotees because they're going out to chant. Oh, the high elevated devotees, where are they? Oh, they're sitting in the temple. They don't go for Harinam. No, they go for Harinam. If they're highly elevated, they'll go out on Harinam. They'll take pleasure in distributing the holy name. Lord Chaitanya would chant the holy name everywhere. He would go and chant. Even he's on his own, he'd be chanting. In the Jharkhanda, he was chanting to the animals. So we're following Lord Chaitanya. Everyone goes Sankirtan. Everyone should join the Sankirtan party. They're all highly elevated devotees who do Sankirtan. Krishna Varnam Tavisha Krishnam Sango Pangrista Parsadam Yagnai Sankirtan Prae Yajantihi Sumedasaha. Sumedasa. They have a purified brain. They have a good brain, an auspicious brain, because they're doing Sankirtan.
Some of the devotees I know, they, for example, they don't want to go to Harinam because there are not enough people. For example, like there are three persons, and they need, like, a beautiful Harinam with at least 10 people. consider that this will have an impact on people. But if there are 3 devotees, it's not an...
Well, if they're 3 sincere devotees, if they can chant the holy name nicely, that's the main thing. You know, sometimes we would go on Harinam on our own. We'd just go one person would chant, other person would distribute. You don't need a lot of people. One sincere soul. One moon is better than millions of stars, right? If you have one moon in the sky, it's better than millions of stars. So you don't need a lot of people. If you have a lot of people, oh, good. But sometimes just 1, 2 people is very nice. We have to have faith. You want to give the holy name? Let people hear the holy name. Did the Namaruchi party come here? Did they come here sometimes? They're not so many people, are they? They do nice Sankirtan. Attract so many people. Yeah. One person can do Harinam. You don't need a lot of people. You can have a lot of people. It can be maybe more fun. But even one person. Prabhupada said one person go out, another person will come along and join.
So the faith is the core of it.
Hmm?
The faith is most important.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we have to have that faith. Yes. Okay. Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Bhakti Vighna Vinasa Narasimha Maharaj ki jai.
Gaur Bhakti Vrinda ki jai. Prabhu, you're not, I can't charge my phone. I don't have an adapter for these.
I can bring.
Yeah. Beautiful dress, very nice. Is it made by devotee?
Well, Vrindavan.
Made in Vrindavan.
We have two in Vrindavan who are making dresses for us for many years.
Oh. You've got a lot of Sheilas here.
4. Padmanabha, Giriraj, Kurmadev and Srimadev. Do you also have Shilas?
Huh?
Do you have Shilas? No.
You're Russian, are you?
I'm Swiss.
You're Swiss. Who's the Russian?
All of them.
We're from Ukraine actually.
From Ukraine?
Yeah.
Oh.
Refugees.
Ukraine.
Yeah.
Oh.
We have many who came after the war.
Oh
started.
yeah, they came after the war. Yeah. Okay.
How many we have in Switzerland, devotees from Ukraine? Maybe 100
Oh really? So many.
outside.
They've got settled somewhere in Switzerland?
The government's taking care of them.
Taking care, yeah. Get them jobs.
First of all, education, language.
They learn German and
Learn the language.
yeah, the government is quite generous,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Generous.
They
Yeah.
give a lot of
They
facilities,
have apartment.
money,
Yes.
apartment,
Sure.
insurance.
Apartment. Good. But there were thousands of people came out of Ukraine, though, yes. How many they could take care of?
There was like more than 1 million of Ukrainians in Germany.
In Germany?
Yeah,
1 million?
yeah, over a million.
Wow. The government take care of them also? Yeah. Wish that war would get over with. I think it's still going on, huh?
Yeah.
I have to wait for Putin to die or something.
We don't know the plan. What's going on? Yeah, but devotees, a lot of devotees, they went to the whole world.
Scattered them.
Yeah, everywhere, every country.
Mm. Yeah, it's good. Get devotees. Many countries they need devotees.
Yeah, actually we are benefiting from all the devotees who come in. Swiss, they are mostly quite absorbed in material life. Even devotees take somehow once they leave the temple. And Ukrainians, they have more of this culture to prioritize the community and the devotional aspect. Swiss, the more you go west now, everybody's very individual. They have their own place, they have their own, they don't like this community.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, they're very separatistic.
Oh.
So we are happy.
Get people dying.
Yeah, it's good for us. Also they are doing service.
There's several Swiss devotees in Vrindavan, right? Mukunda Datta, the Swiss.
Yes.
And Sanatan, is it? Sanatan, the one take care of the Goshala?
Kundalata was the one who translated, right?
No, Mukunda Pujari.
Yeah, it's the head.
Head Pujari.
Who's taking care of the Goshala? Swiss?
There's one, some disciple of Lokanath Maharaj there. There was one Swiss devotee with me in China, Sankirtan. His name was Sankirtan Das. He was a Lokanath disciple. He got cancer at the time.
When I joined, I met him. He was at his home in 2015. He was with his sister, and I got a lot of blessings. And then on Jamastan, just a few weeks after he left,
Yeah, he left on Jamastan.
he was so thin. I remember still he was on the bed,
Like big fasting,
but he was preaching so strongly.
Really?
Yeah. I had long hair, and when he saw me, he asked, "Who is this?" Then they said, "Yeah, this is Bhakti Dominic. He just came new." Then he started to preach to me. He said, "This attraction between man and woman is what binds you in this material world. So you should give it up."
Yeah, he was a staunch brahmachari.
And so I think I saw a picture once from, I think it was you, Sankirtan Prabhu, Tamal Krishna, and maybe one more in China. I saw in Dallas a black-white photo, how you're doing Harinam in the streets of China.
No, we don't do it. We don't usually do Sankirtan in the streets of China.
But back then we didn't do any.
Not in the street. We'd go in the park,
Okay.
but not in the street.
It was some kind of park, yeah, that's true. So
Was that the photo with Karl Marx there, a big statue?
yeah,
of Karl
there was a statue.
Marx? I'm not in that picture, but
Ah,
that and some other devotees, yeah. It's a famous picture, yeah, in the park.
yeah,
Karl Marx,
it is.
yeah. And yeah, Sankirtan. We went into China. He was in the beginning. He went to Shanghai. I was in Guangzhou. So that photo was taken in Shanghai.
You went all alone?